Desk.
Good afternoon, Carl Defenbaugh joining you here in the Wisconsin Live Desk as we get you going on this Tuesday afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Over the next hour, we will take you wherever we can take you as the news happens in the moment. And there's actually a lot happening right now, so let's do a quick whip around what we're going to try to bring you over the next just even 5 to 15 minutes or so. First of all, beautiful day here in downtown Milwaukee. You're seeing the clouds that have broken up after some rain overnight and the sun coming down over the city. We do have reporters all around the area for you, including at a pick and save just north of Miller Park, as you're seeing our photographer getting some footage from the scene. There was a fire. A lot of people commenting about smoke in the area of this pick and save, a grocery store. Our reporter on the scene, you just caught a flash of him, Darronte Matthews, just did an interview with one of the fire officials there. We're going to get word from Darronte in just a moment on what exactly happened, as he is still trying to figure out some information for us there live at that pick and save just north of AmFam Field off of Miller Park Way. We are also going to hear from our reporter Brett Lemoyne, who is working with the National Weather Service today on some of the ways that they handle tornado spotting around the area as they also get situated there. We'll give them a second. So we're going to start actually with the, let's get to it, in Washington. The press secretary for the Trump administration, Karoline Leavitt, just stepped to the podium moments ago. This follows word from the Trump administration that they are freezing more than $2 billion in grant funding to Harvard University. Let's listen in live to the press secretary right now from Washington, D.C.
4-year-old citizen of Honduras convicted of murder in Los Angeles County, California. ICE Chicago arrested a 49-year-old citizen of Guatemala convicted of assault and arson in Prince Williams, Virginia, not far from here. ICE Denver arrested a 36-year-old citizen of Mexico who is registered as a sex offender and has been convicted of sexual assault of a child in Lake County, Colorado. ICE Baltimore arrested a 50-year-old citizen of China convicted of sex trafficking in Bel Air, Maryland. And ICE Boston arrested a 46-year-old citizen of Jamaica convicted of 3 counts of rape of a child and 2 counts of indecent assault and battery of a child under 14 in Boston, Massachusetts. President Trump and our administration will not rest until every single violent illegal alien is removed from our country. The safety of the American people is too important to settle for anything less. On that note, the Democrat and media outrage over the deportation of Abrego Garcia, an MS-13 El Salvadorian illegal alien criminal who is hiding in Maryland, has been nothing short of despicable. Based on the sensationalism of many of the people in this room, you would think we deported a candidate for Father of the Year. That's because, unfortunately, many in this country care more about this quote-unquote Maryland father, a legal alien MS-13 gang member, than a Maryland mother and an American citizen who was brutally murdered at the hands of a different illegal alien. Of course, I am referring to Rachel Morin. And if you didn't see yesterday, a Maryland jury found illegal alien Victor Antonio Martinez Hernandez guilty of murdering Rachel Morin in August of 2023. She was a 37-year-old mother of 5 who was jogging in an otherwise safe community northeast of Baltimore when this monster ambushed, strangled, and beat her to death before stuffing her brutalized body in a tunnel drain. The Morin family finally got justice yesterday, but they will never get Rachel back. Our hearts go out to Rachel's family, her 5 children, and her mother, Patty, who has suffered the unimaginable loss of her daughter. In case you missed it last week, President Trump signed a national security presidential memorandum directing federal agencies administering federal land on the border to make land available to the Defense Department in a new national defense area. This followed the president's Day 1 executive order committing his administration to marshal all available resources and authorities to stop the unprecedented flood of illegal aliens into our country and to obtain complete operational control of the borders of the United States of America.
While the press secretary, Karoline Leavitt, continues her briefing to the media, we'll try to catch some more of that for you over the next just under an hour here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is the Wisconsin Live Desk, so we have a couple stories we want to make sure we hit as they're happening right now. First and foremost, you're seeing some of the firefighters continuing to work at this pick and save location here in Milwaukee County, working on the fire hydrant there. And we just saw what looked to be kind of the charred remnants of some burned out pallets outside of this grocery store. So we'll try to get back there for you. Our Darronte Matthews is the reporter reporter on the scene for us as officials are still figuring out exactly what happened. We'll get word from Darronte. But in the meantime, we want to start with our own Brett Lemoyne, who joins us now, our Waukesha County reporter, joining us as Brett. You have an interesting assignment today, so let's bring you in. Let's hear what we're chatting about today. You get to be on scene there with the National Weather Service. Take it away. What are you working on?
This is really critical training that's taking place today in Waukesha
Today,
County.
Matthew
There's two sessions, one at 1 o'clock and then another one at 6 p.m. this evening. And it's all about storm spotter training. And Grant Deal with Waukesha County Emergency Management joins us now live to talk about the importance of these storm spotters. So what is it exactly that you're going to be training and talking to these individuals about today?
So the National Weather Service is going to give their presentation on how to become a storm spotter, how to spot different types of clouds and storms that could be coming in. And then they're going to talk about some more of the preparedness piece, which is really the emergency management role. We like the preparedness portion of it, what to do before, during, and after. So it's really integral for, if anybody, like Tim had said before, if they don't want to become a storm spotter, that's perfectly fine, but just come and learn about storms, what you should be doing, how you can detect them, see them.
Because Grant, I mean, we're coming up on severe weather season now, right? We've been very lucky in Waukesha County in particular that we haven't had too many major weather events during the springs and summers of recent past. But what is a good tip? What is your number one tip that you tell people, especially when we turn the calendar to these months?
So my number one tip is honestly know where to get the information. Know how to get the alerts. I know a lot of people, they turn off the alerts on their phone. But there's multiple ways, whether it's, watching the news, watching your media, know who your trusted sources are. So obviously some people like to go to Facebook or Twitter, but it's usually somebody who's not really outside or maybe even not in the area reporting on information. So just find out the county itself through emergency management and our dispatch center, we have a reverse 911 alert sense. It's on our website, it's subscription based. You just sign up and put in your information, where you live, and what information you like to receive. So that's one way we can push out information additionally. Or you can follow us on social media. Usually whenever the National Weather Service pushes anything out, we like to always push it out also, try and get as many eyes on it as possible.
So that reverse 911, that's basically you give them your telephone number, and then during an emergency, you're getting a call that's automated, presumably, right? That
yes.
Would say...
So you can select whether it's text messages, phone calls, emails, but it's just reshooting out that information that we've received from the National Weather Service or any other information that might cause a public safety issue.
And how helpful is it to have boots on the ground, have these individuals that are going to be coming to your training session today during an emergency like that?
Extremely beneficial, because it helps out the National Weather Service find out if something's actually occurring. So the faster they can kind of make that designation of, tornado has touched down, there is visible confirmation from a storm spotter, so a confirmed source, they're able to start doing their processes a lot quicker, which then gets information to us a lot quicker.
Yeah, because I imagine once you know what types of clouds are in the sky and what types of conditions there are, that kind of helps everybody kind of have an understanding in their own respective communities as to what you could be preparing for.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there is a chance, if somebody doesn't get to come to this session that starts at 1 o'clock, which is creeping up on us very soon, there is another session at 6. Are there any other opportunities in Waukesha County?
Not for this year that I know of. However, if you do go to our website, waukeshacounty.gov/EM, we have a lot of information on there as well that we've gathered from the state and from the National Weather Service on things to do before, during, and after storms, and some of the more basic information.
It's always best to be aware and be prepared. Okay,
exactly.
Grant, thank you so much. Carl, as we said, the session's taking place at 1 o'clock this afternoon. Again, at 6, we are here live in the Oconomowoc Public Library in downtown Oconomowoc. So lots of opportunities to become weather aware and be prepared as we head into severe weather season.
Yeah, it's certainly important, that's for sure. Brett, I'll throw you one quick question before you wrap things up for us here. I'd be curious, because you and I have both covered the aftermath of these storms. What struck you? What's been curious that you did not know about the process today in terms of how they identify and then work through these storms? We see it on the back end, but they're obviously handling things in the preparation side.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a great refresher, Carl, to know that there are individuals who are kind of already at the ready in all these communities where severe weather strikes. And, the National Weather Service and Waukesha County Emergency Management does a great job of making sure that all of these individuals who go out into these storms and even into the aftermath are doing it safely and making sure that they're taking precautions as well. And so it's really been interesting to kind of hear how all of that data is then used at the National Weather Service in Milwaukee to kind of get a better picture and a better understanding of what the weather event was that had passed through. I was talking with Tim Halbach just a minute ago with the National Weather Service, and he said, there is so much that they have at their fingertips when they're in their offices with radar and Doppler, but to have eyes and ears on the ground in these communities right when these weather events are occurring is tremendously beneficial.
Yeah, that's for sure. And our meteorologists certainly rely on that information as well. So, Brett, thank you so much sharing an interesting side to that weather coverage for us today. We'll let you get back to it. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Carl.
In the meantime, we will take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We did just get some information on that fire I had told you about as we pop this up here outside of a pick and save just north of the ballpark off of Miller Parkway, or excuse me, in that area of the ballpark, as you see firefighters cleaning up their hose lines there. We're going to get the information for you on just exactly what happened from our reporter in the field, Darronte Matthews, on the other side of this break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh joining you here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin on this Tuesday afternoon. As you're seeing, 46 degrees out there right now. It's turned out to be a decent day after some of what we got overnight. Snowflakes in parts of the state, rain in much of southeastern Wisconsin, but thankfully those clouds have broken up. The sunshine is finally here. Relatively calm, if albeit a bit windy day today here in southeastern Wisconsin. Very different day, a different set of challenges for some of our area firefighters, as we are joined now by Darronte Matthews, our reporter on the scene. We mentioned he was on the scene covering and getting some information from officials after a fire at a pick and save in West Milwaukee. I kept saying north of the ballpark, Darronte. It's actually just south of American Family Field there off of Miller Parkway. Give us the idea of what you guys saw, because we started to see a lot of things pop up on social media, and then you guys headed to the scene there.
Yeah, Carl, so we actually got here on the tail end of things. The fire was so much more visual, let's say about 20 or so minutes before we got here. We've seen images of huge clouds of black smoke just pretty much just covering the sky. So when we got here, we saw a bunch of firefighters on the back end of things sort of spraying everything out, and I'm just going to give you a look to see what we're looking at right now. You can see a couple of firefighters behind this pick and save right now. They're standing next to a bunch, it looks like a burnt wood and cardboard. We spoke to an assistant fire chief earlier today, and he told us that this actually started from a dumpster fire behind the pick and save over here. They say this intensifying wind that you can probably hear right now through my microphone, the wind is what intensified that fire and spread it to the actual building. Now over here we can see sort of the last crew of firefighters just wrapping up around here. This is West Allis fire here. It looks like Milwaukee fire has already left, but the assistant fire chief tells us that once that fire actually spread to the building over here, the roof of the pick and save suffered some damage, and he can't really give me a good estimate on the damage that's done inside. Right now they're still working to determine that. But yeah, he tells me that there were no injuries in this fire, and they were actually able to clear the building completely out of both employees and shoppers. They did 2 checks, and I believe they're in there doing a third just to check in on everything right now. But yeah, this is pretty much just the tail end of things right now. A bunch of firefighters are over there, and there's actually some representatives from Pick and Save here as well in the back end inside, just checking in to see how things are doing right now. But again, no injuries. This fire started, well, from online posts that we saw, it looks like this fire started sometime after 11 o'clock. The assistant fire chief couldn't give me an accurate time, but he did say that sounds about right. And yeah, this is just the tail end of things right now. A lot of the damage is on the back of the building. However, we have been delegated to the side. They actually said they didn't want us filming on the property, so this is the visual that we have for you right now. Just firefighters over here checking for hot spots. Again, we're told because of the wind, there was a possibility that another fire could ignite, so they're just doing everything they can right now to make sure everything is completely out.
And certainly, as you can imagine, with the grocery store, a lot of wooden pallets, a lot of cardboard boxes and things of the like, quite flammable potentially once that fire gets started. It's funny, you mentioned the Pick and Save or Metro Market folks out there. I actually recognize one of the women who's a regular guest on Fox 6 Wake Up and Real Milwaukee as well. She comes in to do regular segments on those different Kroger chain stores, Pick and Save or Metro Market. So clearly checking on things with the fire chief there, the West Allis Fire Department. Darronte, any idea that you've gotten? I imagine the store is still closed, right, with some of the damage. Any idea about how bad the damage is inside the store, when that store may reopen if people are watching and that's their regular grocery store?
Yeah, Carl, so the store, like I said, they were able to empty the store. Right now they're inside doing their investigation, but no actual time frame on when it is set to reopen. Again, they still don't know what the extent of the damage is inside. So far, only for sure answer that I've gotten on how bad the fire is they did say it damaged the roof, but they have to check in just to see how much of the actual shopping area has been damaged. We can expect some water damage from the spray and also some smoke damage, but as far as actual fire damage, that we're still working to determine how bad it is actually inside of the building.
Gotcha. Yeah, although certainly not what anyone expected if you're running out for an early lunch or to pick something up on this Tuesday morning when this fire started. We'll let you get back to it. Darronte Matthews reporting for us from West Milwaukee. If that Pick and Save off of Miller Park Avenue is your store, you might want to avoid it because they have been dealing with a whole lot over the last couple hours. Darronte, thank you very much for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Thank you.
As he gets back to his work there, we are going to take a short break on the Wisconsin Live Desk and see what we find for you on the other side. We mentioned American Family Field, so it's just south of there, very close to the ballpark actually, where that fire at that Pick and Save happened, just a little bit farther south on Miller Park Way in West Milwaukee is where that Pick and Save, or at least the back of it, caught on fire, some damage to the roof, and the investigation continues inside to see the extent of the damage. We'll be back on the other side of this break on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Carl Deffenbaugh joining you here from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where from this booth we can take you all around the state, all around the country, including all the way out to our nation's capital, the White House on the outside on this Tuesday afternoon, while on the inside, the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, continues her weekly press briefing. We caught the beginning of this. Let's listen to some of the questions and from reporters and answers from the press secretary right now on this Tuesday.
Between Steve Witkoff and Iran's representative has been scheduled for Saturday. And since these are ongoing negotiations, I have nothing more to add on that.
Thanks about Iran.
Sure.
Oh, thank you, Caroline. When you said that the president said that Iran will never have nuclear weapon, is the focus on dismantling the entire nuclear program, or it just restricting enriched uranium or the missile program?
The president does not want to see Iran have a nuclear program. He does not want Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. He's been very clear about this. Shelby.
Thanks, Caroline.
Shelby, you have a seat today.
I know, stole it.
Glad to see it.
Two quick ones on TikTok. First, is the president expecting to extend the TikTok ban that's now June 19th if China doesn't come to the table in time?
Well, June 19th is a long ways away, obviously. I think it's 2 months away. 2 months is a long time in the Trump administration, as you have all seen. We work at Trump speed around here. We get a lot done, so definitely don't want to get ahead. The vice president continues to lead these negotiations and talks. The president's involved, and they're ongoing.
And then the president previously said he'd consider reducing tariffs on China in order to get a TikTok deal done. Is that option still on the table?
Look, the president has made his position on China quite clear, although I do have an additional statement that he just shared with me in the Oval Office. The ball is in China's court. China needs to make a deal with us. We don't have to make a deal with them. There's no difference between China and any other country except they are much larger. And China wants what we have, what every country wants, what we have, the American consumer. Or to put it another way, they need our money. So the president, again, has made it quite clear that he's open to a deal with China, but China needs to make a deal with the United States of America. Sure.
On tariffs, yesterday in the Oval Office...
Which outlet are you with?
The Canadian Public Broadcaster.
Oh, nice to see you.
Thank you. Yesterday in the Oval Office, President Trump suggested that there could be some help for automakers. I'm wondering what that looks like. Is it tariff relief on the 25% tariffs that are in place right now, or the new tariffs that are coming up in May on auto parts? And a second on Canada, if I may. President Trump's tone when it comes to Canada-U.S. relations, Canadians have noticed it's shifted a bit in the past few weeks. Ever since the election campaign started, he stopped talking about Canada becoming the 51st state, at least publicly. I'm wondering if that's on purpose and why.
I would reject the president's position on Canada has shifted. Perhaps he just hasn't been asked about Canada by questions from this group in the Oval Office when they see him almost every day, but the president still maintains his position on Canada. The United States has been subsidizing Canada's national defense, and he believes that Canadians would benefit greatly from becoming the 51st state of the United States of America. As for autos and auto parts, I don't have anything to read out for you there, but I think the point the president was making is flexibility, and he has flexibility when it comes to negotiations and talks. But ultimately, his goal in his fair trade deals that he is pursuing with many countries around the world is to put the American worker first. And we had automakers and auto workers here at the White House on Liberation Day who believe in this president and his negotiating ability to put them first and to bring those jobs back to the United States of America. And the president's been very clear about that in his conversations with the automakers as well. Deanna, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. One on Ukraine and one on China. On Ukraine, this past weekend, Zelensky offered an invitation to President Trump, extending an offer for him to visit Ukraine. Just wondering if there's any update on that. Has Trump seen that offer and what he's thinking about?
I don't know. Actually, I haven't talked to the president about that, or if he saw Zelensky's offer. I'm sure he did. I haven't spoken to him about it. I can ask him what he thinks. I certainly don't have any plans to share on a potential trip to Ukraine, though.
And then on China, this last week, Chinese officials were posting videos on social media sites depicting a Trump, J.D. Vance, Elon Musk in AI-generated videos working in factories, putting together Nike shoes and iPhones and products like that. Does the White House, have they seen these videos? Do you guys have a response to that?
I have seen the videos. I'm not sure who made the videos or if we can verify the authenticity, but whoever made it clearly does not see the potential of the American worker, the American workforce. The president believes in the American people, and he knows that we have the best not only consumer base in the world, but also the best workforce in the world, and that's why he's so focused on bringing investments home and shoring up our critical supply chains and bolstering our manufacturing here as well. Brett.
Thanks, Caroline. Would the president support a ban on members of Congress trading stocks?
I'm certain that's something the president would be interested in looking at, and I can ask him if he would support such a bill. Sure. Yes.
I have a question about the president's post from this morning on farmers. He asked farmers to be patient and just hold on. But a lot of farmers that I've talked to in the last week or so have said, they're in the middle of spring planting season, and that a trade war makes everything sort of up in the air. What would his message to them be? And also, is there anything specifically planned to provide relief like in President Trump's last term?
Yes, well, relief is being considered. The Secretary of Agriculture, I know, has spoken to the president about that, and again, it's being considered. And as for the president's message to the farmers, he put it out himself. He could speak for himself much better than I can speak for him, and so I would just direct you to the statement he had telling the farmers again and reiterating his support for them and that he has their backs, which he certainly does. Kelly, in the back.
Thanks, Caroline. Two questions. The first one, a Georgia man was just arrested over alleged threats to kill Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. Reportedly, there is now increased security around the FBI Deputy Director. Can you talk about the level of threats against various administration officials, and then a second one on Biden?
I'm sorry to hear that. I had not seen that report. It's very unfortunately, and obviously the White House, the president, and the entire administration condemn any threats of violence against any administration officials or public officials on both sides of the aisle here in Washington, D.C. It shouldn't be tolerated, and we commend the local law enforcement agencies for arresting this individual.
Former President Biden, he's set to deliver his first major speech since leaving office tonight. He plans to talk about what I'm told will be Social Security under the current administration, closing of offices, longer wait times, harder for seniors and people with disabilities to access earned benefits, is what Democrats have been saying today. I wanted to get the president's response, or if he plans to respond to this, and comments on what Democrats are calling cuts to Social Security.
My first reaction when seeing former President Biden was speaking tonight was I'm shocked that he is speaking at nighttime. I thought his bedtime was much earlier than his speech tonight. I understand the topic of his speech will be Social Security. Let me make it very clear ahead of former President Biden's remarks. President Trump, is absolutely certain about protecting Social Security benefits for law-abiding, tax-paying American citizens and seniors who have paid into this program. He will always protect that program. He campaigned on it, he protected it in his first term, and he's back again to continue protecting it. On the topic of Social Security, I have some news before I let you all go. Later this afternoon, the president will be signing a presidential memorandum aimed at stopping illegal aliens and other ineligible people from obtaining Social Security Act benefits. The memorandum will direct the administration to ensure ineligible aliens are not receiving funds from the Social Security Act programs. It will expand the Social Security Administration's fraud prosecutor program to at least 50 U.S. attorney offices and establishes a Medicare and Medicaid fraud prosecution program in 15 U.S. attorney offices. The memorandum will also require the Social Security Administration Inspector General to investigate earning reports for individuals aged 100 or older with mismatched Social Security records to combat identity theft. And the memorandum will direct the Social Security Administration to consider whether to reinstate the use of civil monetary penalties against individuals who engage in Social Security fraud, an effort that has been paused for several years. These taxpayer-funded benefits should be only for eligible taxpayers. And President Biden should think about what he did in his last term, which is allow tens of millions of illegal people into our country, many of whom were fraudulently receiving these benefits. So you'll hear from the president on that later, and we will see you later in the East Room. Bye, guys.
Thanks, Caroline.
There you have it, the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, handling a series of questions there from reporters in the briefing room at the White House today, covering issues like Social Security there, as well as the ongoing tariffs the U.S. has placed on a number of different trading partners in countries around the world, including Canada, specifically when it comes to auto parts as well. Some of the other news made today by the administration: the more than $2 billion in grants the Trump administration has decided to freeze against Harvard University. This is a continuation, the next phase of an ongoing back and forth between the Trump administration and many different universities and colleges around the country when it comes to what the administration says civil rights practices and trying to promote or denounce anti-Semitic behavior on college campuses, while the colleges say this is all an elaborate push beyond DEI requirements to limit and influence what is taught and what is proceeded on college campuses. While that continues in Washington, D.C., or excuse me, just wraps up there, we are going to take a short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk and see what we find for you on the other side. Our reporter Jason Calvi is working on an interesting story today. We'll check in with that for you as well on the other side of the break. Here, you're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk on Fox Local.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Good afternoon, Carl Defenbaugh joining you back here on the Wisconsin Live Desk here on Fox Local, where each and every weekday, 12:30 to 1:30, we take you on a whip around the news as it happens in the moment. Now, often that is, of course, here in Wisconsin, the Wisconsin Live Desk, but as we just heard from the press secretary at the White House in Washington, D.C., wherever the news is happening, we will try to take you there. We're working to get connected with our reporter Jason Calvey, covering a very big issue that has gone back and forth here in southeastern Wisconsin when it comes to the implementation of a new Buc-ee's, potentially the state's first Buc-ee's location here in Wisconsin. It would be in Oak Creek. That is the plan. There has now been a lawsuit filed against this plan by some people who live in the area where this massive footprint of the Texas-based gas station chain, but so much more than a gas station, would go. So Jason's been working on that story for us throughout the day today. As soon as we get him up on one of those feeds over my shoulder there, we will bring that to you live. Here's the joy of the Wisconsin Live Desk, though. We can take it just about anywhere, as we were just in D.C. for, yes, color bars. That's how it looks when the press secretary stops talking and the feed goes away. Fun fact. Also in Washington, I believe, this is supposed to be a briefing from the State Department starting momentarily. So we have a camera in that room as well, a feed from the State Department briefing. When it happens, we will carry that for you if we can hit it here in the next 25 minutes or so. How about a view in New York City, the Big Apple, on this Tuesday afternoon, 105 here in Milwaukee. That would be 205 in New York City, as you're seeing a shot from the Fox headquarters there in New York City, just down the street, as you see on the right side, from Radio City Music Hall, right near 30 Rock as well in the Big Apple. Back here in Milwaukee, we have the big clamshell, you can call it, American Family Field. The roof is closed out there today as the Brewers prepare for another game on their homestand. Let me pull up the time for you because it's a Brew Crew Tuesday for us here at Fox 6. Of course, Fox Local, you can join us from all over the world, really, as long as you have the Fox Local app, either on your mobile device or on your smart TV, as anyone watching this knows, although we do have viewers on YouTube and the like. The Brewers are at home today against the Detroit Tigers, a 6:40 first pitch. But if you live in our viewing area here in southeastern Wisconsin for Fox 6, if you get Fox 6, we are carrying a total of 10 Brewers games live on our air, part of a partnership with the team and with FanDuel Sports Network for the season. And tonight is one of those games, a Brew Crew Tuesday, as we had the home opener for you, and now we have tonight's game against the Detroit Tigers. The Brew Crew came back a little bit limping from a road trip. They initially started well in Colorado, taking 2 of 3 from the Rockies, then dropped 2 of 3 to the Arizona Diamondbacks, and then last night in the opener of this series against the Tigers, got rocked. 9-1 the final as they struggled against Tarek Skubal, one of the reigning AL Cy Young winner there, who was excellent. Struck out 9 while allowing just 4 hits, no walks, 7 shutout innings. The Brewers dropped their 3rd straight last night, 9-1. We'll see if they can turn things around tonight in that game. 6:40 is the first pitch if you're heading out to the ballpark. You want to get there early, of course, for the tailgating. 6:30 is when our coverage will start here on Fox 6 as well, getting you ready for the Brewers and the Tigers tonight if you do live here in southeastern Wisconsin. Another thing we can tell you about as we look ahead to a whole weekend full of Milwaukee sports, the Milwaukee Bucks will get their playoff run started. They are the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference this year, and this was breaking news just a couple hours ago from ESPN's Shams Charania, who reported that the Milwaukee Bucks star, Damian Lillard, of course it's supposed to be Giannis and Dame running the show for the Bucks, and when they play together, the highest scoring duo in the entire NBA. Well, Lillard has been out since March 18th because of a blood clot. At the time, it was feared that he could be out for the rest of the season in any possible playoff run, similar to what the Spurs star Victor Wembanyama dealt with earlier in the season from a similar type of blood clot. Well, initially the Bucks thought maybe there was hope, and here we go. So the report from ESPN, and then I'll get you a follow-up from the Bucks themselves this morning. But first of all, from Shams Charania, the NBA insider for ESPN, Lillard will in fact miss the start of the playoffs. So the Bucks play Game 1 in the first round against the Pacers on Saturday. That is supposed to be a noon tip-off here in the Central Time Zone. That would be 1 o'clock out there in Indianapolis, excuse me. Lillard will definitely miss the start of the playoffs. continuing to be sidelined with that blood clot. But there's at least hope that he could possibly return if the Bucs continue to advance and if the playoff run continues for them. And then a medical update from the team itself today. And I want to make sure I read this for you because we got it from the Milwaukee Bucks, released this just a couple hours ago, including a quote from the general manager, John Horst. But first, the update from the team. Lillard has made significant improvement on that deep vein thrombosis in the right calf. Again, that's the blood clot in the right calf. He will continue to increase on-court basketball activity. So he is doing some work through this as well. And then the quote that we got from John Horst, the general manager for the Bucks. Damian Lillard's most recent weekly scan shows that his injury has significantly improved, which will enable him to move ahead safely with increased basketball activity. Again, this is according to the GM, John Horst. The statement continues from Horst saying, quote, Damian's health remains our #1 priority. We have followed strict protocols and will continue to do so. We are pleased with the positive news about Damian's progress, and the team will continue to give updates as they have them, as they say is appropriate. But again, the Bucs start their playoff run this Saturday. That would be game 1 of their Eastern Conference first round matchup with the Indiana Pacers, the team that bounced them from the playoffs in the first round last year. That was when the Bucs were the higher seed. This year it's flip-flop. The Pacers the 4 seed, the Bucs the 5 seed in the Eastern Conference, and they will play game 1 12 o'clock Eastern time, 12 o'clock Central time here in Milwaukee, 1 o'clock Eastern time in Indianapolis for game 1 of that series. Definitely without Damian Lillard for the start of the playoffs. Remains to be seen if the Bucs can get rolling without him, whether he could make it back and join a potential championship run. While we take you back out to the ballpark on this Brew Crew Tuesday here in Milwaukee, the Brewers in town, as are we here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We will check in with our reporter Jason Calvi, that story about Buc-ee's coming to Oak Creek, or maybe not, based on a lawsuit that was filed in response to this. We'll get the word from Jason on the other side of this break.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Hey, Carl Deffenbaugh hanging out with you, 1:13 here on this Tuesday afternoon in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, dealing with the news as people get ready for a big arrival. We're going to bring in our Jason Calvi. I mentioned we were going to get to him on the other side of that last break. Jason joining us now from Oak Creek. Jason, this has been quite the story since it first got announced. I'll admit, I was not familiar with Buc-ee, so we're going to have to set the table here for some of the viewers on Fox Local if they're like me. You know, I travel a fair amount. I haven't come across a Buc-ee's, so that's on me apparently. First and foremost, there's supposed to be this proposal for a Buc-ee's to Oak Creek. What is a Buc-ee's? Why is it such a big deal? Why is everyone kind of all in a flurry over this announcement? A lot of people in favor, and now we'll get eventually to the response.
So I guess if you start with Buc-ee's, if you're from the South, if you're from Texas, you're going to see these all over the place. They're in states like Texas, and there's Colorado, and there's some in Missouri as well. But this would be the first here in Wisconsin. This site behind me here in Oak Creek. Right now, it's just a farm field, but we're talking about, get this, Carl, 120 gas pumps. Yeah, I said that right. 120. I mean, I can't imagine going to a gas station that has more than 20 gas pumps, right? So they're planning 120 gas pumps for this location in Oak Creek. That's part one. The other one is the store. So they have stores, convenience store that sells food and things like that. And what's interesting about that is 70,000 square feet. So what does that mean? What does that number mean? That's larger than a football field with the end zones attached. I mean, we're talking about a major construction project right here in Oak Creek. This was something that right now, as you can see, I don't know if you can see, but it's pretty much a farm field, empty lot right now. And so to transform that into the Buc-ee's, that massive gas station and convenience store, it would take rezoning. And the city of Oak Creek in March went through that rezoning process. They had the hearings and did approve making the changes to zoning as well as to the city's comprehensive plan, both of which needed to happen in order to open the doors for having a Buc-ee's here in Oak Creek. But now residents, people that live in Oak Creek, have filed a lawsuit challenging the city's rezoning. They say that it was illegal action. The rezoning itself was not legal, they said. And so that now opens up this new lawsuit that they just filed, and the city of Oak Creek has 45 days to respond to that. So that is the big question mark now. They're asking that the judge rule that rezoning is void. What does void mean? Well, pretty much it didn't happen. So if this isn't rezoned, then the Buc-ee's can't come. So this is a big hiccup for the development of Buc-ee's, which is planning to come here in a few years.
It's certainly interesting, Jason, especially because initially there was another proposal. The first Buc-ee's in Wisconsin was going to be in the Madison area. Then this Oak Creek site actually jumped that in terms of a time frame. So our part of the state would get that first Buc-ee's under what was the proposed plan. Initially, there was a whole lot of celebration. I kept hearing from people in the newsroom who are from the South, a lot of Texas folks in there. Yeah. You know, the barbecue is supposed to be amazing, these great sandwiches, that it's almost like an experience, not a gas station, as you alluded to with the size and everything. These neighbors, were they vocal from the beginning, or has this been kind of like a slow build as they get their legal side of it all in order?
Yeah, I would say both and. I mean, there was definitely opposition early on when we went to those planning commission as well as rezoning meetings. You heard a lot of opposition from the people. I mean, lots and lots of people spoke out. Sam Kramer, our reporter, covered those meetings, and people were very. What are the points? What are the points that the neighbors are bringing up? I know you can't really see the houses. If I scooch over a little bit, I could show you the houses. There's a big farm field. Can we move over? So I'm going to pan over really slowly here, Carl. So this is the site of where that Buc-ee's would be. Then there's a road there, and the other side of the road then is a farm field. That farm field is not part of this proposed development. But then past the farm field is a residential area. There's houses over there. There's a neighborhood. And so those folks over there are worried about noise. They're worried about 120 gas pumps right here. I mean, they're worried about the smell of the gasoline. They're worried about the noise. They're worried about the infrastructure of, you've got, what is this? This is a two lane here on each side of the road here. They're worried about the congestion. They're expecting some 12,000 people to be coming a day. 12,000 or 1,200. I'm not sure. Let me check on that, Carl. But they're expecting a huge amount of people to be coming right here to that Buc-ee's gas station. They're really worried about the infrastructure of their community. They said, hey, they moved to that quiet area over there. People honking their horn. They moved to that quiet area over there because they liked having that farm field there, that quiet nature, to be able to just kind of have a backyard that was very quiet looking out on the farmland. And now they're worried that across the street, across the farm field, is going to be that massive gas station coming in potentially.
I certainly can see it. I mean, you move, yes, you're close to an interstate. You can see some of the trucks going by in the far distance behind you there, Jason, but you're still far enough afield. You're next to the cornfield. I just think about right now, so few cars going behind you, how different a scene that would be with a scale the size of a Buc-ee's right behind you, the number of people getting off the interstate, coming over there to fill up, the truckers, of course, taking advantage of it. I imagine that's their number one concern, right? It completely changes the entire footprint of that part of Oak Creek.
Yeah, and they're worried about other things. They say there's already gas stations around here. They're worried about the competition. Is it going to drive the other gas stations out of business? I mean, those are the questions that they're bringing up. What is Oak Creek? What is the city of Oak Creek saying? Now, I did get an email response. I did ask for a chance to talk on camera, but the response from the city of Oak Creek, from the administrator there, I'll just read. I got my phone out here if you don't mind, Carl, if I could read to you from that. As for any pending legal matter, the city will not be making further comments at this time. Earlier, it says the city of Oak Creek is aware that this lawsuit has been filed regarding the proposed Buc-ee's development. We're reviewing this matter with the city's legal team. So, no comment. Pretty much is that paragraph is no comment. They're reviewing the lawsuit. They're looking at their issues, and because it's a pending legal challenge, they're not commenting on it either, which is typical for governments not to talk publicly when they're sued.
I know you're in the middle of your day here. I'd be curious, have you reached out to any legal experts not associated with this lawsuit? Any idea, one side or the other, whether this seems like the people who don't want this Buc-ee's to end up in Oak Creek have a viable case here, or anything that you've heard as this starts to play out, still in the early goings of the legal process at least?
Right. Yeah, it's really early because that lawsuit was just filed on Friday. The city of Oak Creek has 45 days then to respond to that lawsuit. They're going to say they went through that change, the zoning, had the meetings, the public hearings. They went through that and made the change here. What the argument in the lawsuit is, they're calling it spot rezoning. They say that the rezoning was intentional to make way for the Buc-ee's, even though when it was originally announced that we're going to have these zoning changes, that it wasn't in light of a Buc-ee's. So that's what the people in the lawsuit are saying. We'll see what the city's reaction is once they file their briefs in court in Milwaukee County. All
right. Throwing out all of the serious legal considerations there, have you ever been to a Buc-ee's, Jason? Are you curious about it at all?
I have not been to a Buc-ee's. I've been to the states that have them, but I don't remember them. I mean, I've been to other states that have these sort of massive gas stations, but never been to a Buc-ee's. So we'll see if we actually get one here in Oak Creek or not. That's still a question mark at this point.
I am curious about the novelty of it. I will say that, just from the response from, again, some of our coworkers who are from the South. They went crazy when this news was announced. Obviously, some neighbors in the area feel quite the opposite, but I don't know. I got a trip to Texas coming up in a couple weeks. I'll have to report back. Maybe I can try to find one down there for you.
That's right, yeah. And the other thing, the Florida, I mean, they're all over the place. Yeah. And the other thing about culturally is, people have the T-shirts that they wear, the stickers. I've seen people with Buc-ee's stickers on their laptops. So it is, I guess you could say, a cultural thing as well, I guess, or part of the culture. Is it up to the hype? That'll be for the people to decide. Are they going to continue to go to their local gas stations around here that are already been established? Not local, but the chains that are around here as well. Are they going to go to those, or are they going to come to Buc-ee's, or can all of them coexist together? That'll be a big question mark moving forward here in Oak Creek.
We could end up, if this lawsuit does not succeed, maybe it's Quick Trip versus Buc-ee's here in southeastern Wisconsin. It's like Foreman Ali back in the day, a heavyweight battle here in Wisconsin. We'll see. Jason Calvi, thank you very much for getting us up to speed on this. A lot of people want to see this in Wisconsin. A number of people do not either, and we'll see which way it ends up once this lawsuit is determined in the response. Thank you. We'll let you get back to your day.
Thank you.
All right, that is Jason Calvi reporting on the news you need to know, right? Honestly, I can't really overstate this, just what the response was inside our newsroom, even from viewers reaching out on social media when this plan was announced. Some people that have traveled and are just absolutely in love with these places. I kind of fall back to, isn't it in the end a gas station? But apparently I've never experienced it, so I can't speak to that. As we get things wrapped up here on the Wisconsin Live Desk here on this Tuesday afternoon. We're taking you around the area. That was the story in Oak Creek, certainly something many people down there care about. As we give you a live look, what a picture-perfect view of Milwaukee as the sun is shining through the clouds there. It's broken up after some rain, even some snow showers overnight. That you should put on a postcard and give to Visit Milwaukee to tell about our great part of the state here in this great state of Wisconsin. We have a few minutes left on the Wisconsin Live Desk, about 5 minutes or so before we leave you today. Let's check in. I mentioned this was happening again in other parts of the country. This State Department briefing is finally underway, so let's listen in. This is the spokesperson for the U.S. State Department discussing issues that affect America around the globe and the ways that our foreign relations are going. Let's listen in live, see what we can learn over the next few minutes.
This has to do with, you're talking about tariffs, right? The whole world free trade, international trade regulations began after the Second World War.
Well,
I'm looking at one Eisenhower, two Nixon, Reagan, Bush,
Matt, may I answer
one,
you? I know.
Bush, two,
Yes.
and I'm
Yes.
hard
Well, you
to
know,
believe
there's
that
something. Let me
are
answer
they
you,
part
sir.
of the global left?
Let me answer you. Let me answer you. Everything that starts like trade. There's always a good idea, right? You always have a really great plan, and things move along, and it's very good and it's very nice. And then time changes, and the left gets control of certain aspects, certain countries, certain Congresses, and things begin to change, and spending begins to increase, and arrangements begin to change, and are not necessarily as good for the United States. The fact of the matter is, at this point in time, we are on an unsustainable path, a burden that is crushing. You see it in the actions that this administration has to take regarding the budget of this entire entity. This becomes an addiction. It's an addiction to other people's money. And as Margaret Thatcher noted, of course, is that the main problem with socialism, sir, the main problem with socialism is that is when you run out of other people's money. Because that eventually happens. I know that's not perhaps satisfactory for the Associated Press.
No,
but I love you
it
anyway, Matt.
doesn't
I love you
matter
anyway.
whether it's
But your question is, at least my answer to what your statement was, is that at this point in time, President Trump is the only person that can undo the Leviathan that this trade framework became around the world, and he's doing it. And I've been watching this coverage, the pearl clutching. It's been remarkable. This is going to be one of the greatest resets of many resets that the Trump administration has implemented, and it's going to make a difference not just for the American people, but for all those countries that realize that this has to change. So it'll be better for the world over.
My point was merely that, are you trying to say that all those presidents and who you just mentioned, Margaret Thatcher, are part of the global left?
I've just talked way too much already. I think I've answered that. Yes, sir.
While we continue to listen to the spokesperson for the State Department there, a bit of a history lesson and back and forth between the reporter there. This is the joy of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Most of the time we take you places, we know what's going to happen. This, I'm not sure. It's a briefing that we're getting. Just missed it. The man walking away. Honestly, I was just struck by the pinstripe suit and the fedora. Looked like something out of Guys and Dolls back in the day. Not exactly sure what that feed was, but we'll try to work on that for you. Too bad. Just missed it. All right, let's get you back to the State Department, see what the spokesperson has to say about some of the tariff policy over the decades, according to different U.S. presidents.
139 grants worth $214 million. The American taxpayers should not be funding misguided programs like building the migrant domestic worker-led movement in Lebanon, or get the trolls out in the United Kingdom. We are cleaning up the mess the previous administration left and rebuilding an agency that's focused on putting America first. So those are two examples that the Secretary shared. There are, because I'm a mathematician, 137 more. And I'm sure at some point we will, I believe that, I'll tell you what, let's see if we can find the full list. And we'll move ahead accordingly.
So, and that just segs into the broader budget question. You saw the reports yesterday and the day before about the OMB plans for a drastic reduction in the State Department, or the Function 150 budget, which includes state and USAID. What can you tell us about that?
I can tell you that throughout the history of the United States, everyone has a budget plan. And everyone has ideas for budgets. And every president has a budget plan and sends it to Congress. And then Congress either accepts it or they have their own ideas, which happens more often than not. I can tell you that whatever you've seen in public was not released from this entity, was not released from this department, it was not released by the Secretary, that there is no final plan, final budget, final dynamic. That is up to the White House and the President of the United States as they continue to work on their budget plan and what they will submit to Congress. So I would suggest that you check with the White House, but the kinds of numbers and what we tend to see is reporting that is early or wrong or based on leaked documents from somewhere unknown, and then everyone writes stories about those things. And earlier, when I was speaking with our bullpen here, whom I love most of the time, it would be wise to be cautious before acting on every single.
While we let that spokesperson continue there, we are just about done here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. A reminder, while we bring you the news as it happens, you can always check it out on Fox Local after the fact as well. Our reporters that we checked in with, Brett Lemoyne, Darronte Matthews, Jason Calvi, all working for you. Check out their stories on Fox Local. And thanks a lot for watching. Hope you have a great rest of your day here in Milwaukee.